Chuck, what do you think about that? I mean, your HIV-free generation partnership that you're working on actually has a lot of companies involved, including some competitors. So how do you work through that?
Well, I first of all want to thank Ray Chambers for the counsel on this, because when I went into this entire effort, it was unclear to me exactly how we interact with other companies. And Ray said, very simply, you should start a nonprofit on this. And I didn't know what he meant at the time, but what I realized is that's how you form that bond that can actually support the infrastructure, the distribution, and expand the program so that others with complementary skills can come in. And it's been essential to us. All of us have that vision when you've gone into a high school computer lab and seen the computer stacked in the corner of the room because they can't be operated on, they can't work. Well, when we went into Africa and started to look at the environments in the schools and also in the orphanages and in the slums where we were going to put computers for the game, we realized that they were going to be over in the corner very quickly unless we had partners. So we went out, reached out through the Office of the Global AIDS Coordinator and brought in folks like Microsoft who helped us develop a program for sustainability because they'll train. We found that there was always someone that knew how to fix the computer that was in the orphanage or one of the schools, but they never were formally trained. So we looked at that and said, can we formally train folks like this to keep these computer systems going for us? Intel. Where can we get computers that can be repaired? And who are repair people in these countries? So Intel joined with us. And there was about a dozen others companies that have joined with us in the HIV-free generation that are taking us to that next level so that indeed we have not only the game and can get it deployed, but we have sustainability and we also know how to interface with the local communities. And it's been essential for us.
Ray, Karen, you're both involved in a lot of partnerships. Anything to add or reflect on some of the comments Desiree and Chuck have made on this topic?
I think they've said it well. With malaria in Africa, on any given day, 1 out of 4 members of a workforce in African countries is absent due to malaria. So the major oil companies, ExxonMobil, Marathon Oil, Chevron, have all joined in partnership with us to try and bring malaria under control because it's in their enlightened self-interest. And wherever we go, we find that same type of response and that potential that Chuck and Desiree spoke about.
Karen?
I don't think I could improve on what's already been said, but I would like just to touch, Ray, on Twitter for a moment. I thought I had made great strides in writing my own blog within Motorola and actually doing it every single week, sometimes multiple times a week without fail. And through that blog, talking about within the company it's an 80-year-old company with more than 60,000 employees in 70 countries. And getting to all of those people through a blog to bind them together and telling the corporate social responsibility stories that don't get out otherwise to that employee population. So I was very proud of myself as an old person, writing a blog, writing it myself. And in the terms of no good deed goes unpunished, it was barely a nanosecond before I was made to feel even older when people said, I don't really understand why you're not Twittering. Why? Now, I have teenage daughters who have threatened me not to get on Facebook, but Twitter, I think, is fair game. And so, Ray, I'm going to need some pointers from you afterwards. But I do see again the incredible interplay between corporate social responsibility, doing well by doing good, and the interconnection with communications. Within my own portfolio, I've got environmental sustainability, corporate social responsibility, communications, and all of government global advocacy and country management. I have the best portfolio in the entire company because it all fits together. And so I think that what we picked up from all of our colleagues here really fits so beautifully together for any company, whether you're a manufacturer such as Motorola, or entertainment or healthcare. So just wanted to share that piece.
Well, Richard, we've heard some great examples now of companies working together, including some competitors. There was a time not too long ago when that wouldn't happen, when companies felt like they needed to brand their corporate social responsibility or foundations. Global Business Coalition on HIV/AIDS, TB, and malaria does a lot of this, bringing companies together. What are the risks to the companies, and what are the opportunities in bringing folks together, even competitors?
Well, let me tell you 3 stories. Chiquita and the Rainforest Alliance. Chiquita had a goal of getting its bananas into the European Union, which tended to favor bananas that came from former Commonwealth countries. Small bananas. You've ever been to Britain or Germany, the small stuff at breakfast, not so good. Okay, but the trade issue was conflated with the fact that Chiquita grew bananas in a bad way. So it had a business interest in making a deal, and so it made a partnership with the Rainforest Alliance, came up with a better banana project, and therefore it grows bananas with less chemicals, etc. That was one small example. Second, De Beers. De Beers was being attacked on conflict diamonds, and in particular by a very small NGO called Global Witness, with about, 10 or 15 people. And so they would do guerrilla tactics and all sorts of things, protests in front of stores. Together they fashioned a thing called the Kimberley Accord, did it in conjunction with the US State Department, so you had that triangle of NGO, business, and government, and proposed it then to government to be implemented globally. The third example, I think, which is instructive, is Starbucks in trying to come up with a ethical growing procedure for coffee, partnered with Conservation International. Now let me tell you that this is not an immutable truth that this works in every country, because last year you may remember that Starbucks had problems in Ethiopia where they said, oh, you're not buying enough Ethiopian coffee, and you're being problematic in how you define ethically sourced coffee. So remember that NGOs are franchise operations. If you deal at center, you are not necessarily dealing with each of the units. So if there's a decision at center, it doesn't mean that the Amsterdam faction or whatever else it is going to follow the center. So there is some push and pull. Be ready for that. It's just like business and government, though. You do have the EU, but then there are member states, and it's the same sort of procedure. But if you get to a deal that makes sense for you in the marketplace, but also makes sense for you in the sort of social context, I think you're at a right mix.
Thanks.